Okay, are we ready? Right, so welcome to SolarEdge Home. This is SolarEdge Home Residential. We are going to also do the commercial and utility, but we'll do the residential first. So what I will do is I'm going to point out to you the Home Hub inverter. This is the brains of the SolarEdge Home. Without this, none of the devices will work. It takes information from the meter, which is put by your main entry point where your electricity is, connected to a CT, and that measures the import and export. And together with that, it tells the site, the homeowner, it tells the app, it tells all the devices whether we're importing or exporting. If we're exporting to the grid, that means that we can use that energy to fill up our battery. It also means we can use that energy to heat our hot water. We could use it to turn on a heat pump, or maybe a towel rail in the bathroom, or maybe a device that's plugged into the wall. So that excess energy is then used. The inverter itself can be oversized 200%. So if we have a 3.68 inverter, we can oversize that to 7.2 kilowatts. What that means is that out of that 7.2 kilowatts, 3.6 and then go to the home, can then feed these devices, your hot water device and your EV. The other 3.6 can go into the battery because it's DC coupled. It also means that when we do applications, we can have this inverter of 3.68 on a G98 application and have a battery installed with no additional paperwork. Very straightforward. Together with the battery, we've also got the backup interface. Now the backup interface is a very clever device. If there was a power cut and the grid failed for whatever period of time, it has to be a small period of time for it to actually register that there's a power cut. The battery and also the PV will then work together to fill the needs of the home. In normal operation, this 3.68 kilowatt inverter will do 3.68 to the grid. In backup, this will give you 6 kilowatts. That means you'll get 5 kilowatts from the battery and 1 kilowatt from the PV, or a combination of anything, being the maximum from the battery being 5 kilowatts. If this was an 8 or a 10 kilowatt inverter, you would get 10 kilowatts. 5 kilowatts from the battery and 5 kilowatts from the PV. Maybe a combination of maybe 6 from here and 4 from there, but anything up to 10, the maximum of 5 kilowatts coming out the battery. Now, because I said this was the brains of the operation, that means that all the devices here, like the hot water, the backup interface, the EV charger, the smart socket, the smart switch, the load controller, are all controlled from here. They all come under the inverter for G100. G100 changed on the 1st of May. It now became the customer's limitation or customer's export scheme. And that means that you have to limit what you put back on the grid and also limit what you pull from the grid. If you pull too much from the grid, your main fuse is going to blow. And now modern days, people are adding EV chargers, electric showers, ovens. It's pulling an awful lot from the grid. So G100 stepped in and said that you need to control what you import and what you export. The inverter here is certificated for G100 on the ENA website, and all these products, the battery, the meter, the load controller, the smart switch, the smart socket, EV charger, backup interface, and the hot water device are all certificated under the inverter. You don't need to buy a different product. It's all under here, under one thing. So if you have a third-party EV charger, if you have a third-party battery charger, AC coupled, if you have a third-party hot water device and you have the PV, you need 4 devices to monitor your import and export. That's going to cause problems because at one stage we already have the problems where we have 2 devices with different CTs and they're not working together very well. They cause problems and no one can provide a solution for them. So the SolarEdge system, the home system, controls the battery, your hot water, your EV, all this under the home, all on the monitoring. So all on here, on one app, you can control everything. The thing we didn't talk about was the power optimizer. The power optimizer, as you can see on here, is represented by one of these rectangles. The power optimizer optimizes the performance. If all of us here held hands and the ice cream van pulled up outside and we all ran for the ice cream, some of us wouldn't make it because we're all holding hands together. What the optimizer does is it allows you to let go of each other, to put an optimizer on you so you can run as fast as you can to that ice cream van. You'll be able to get your 99 or Cornetto, okay? It also gives you lots of information, and you can see on here that today we've got one here doing 684 watts and one doing 647. If we were using a traditional inverter, the most all of us could doing, because we're all holding hands, would be 647. Now we're doing 684 there. That means you've got a loss of energy that you are limiting yourself just because you've chosen a traditional technology rather than SolarEdge. I've worked out, this is my system here, and I've worked out I have an additional saving or a generation of £200 per year because of module mismatch, because I can tell the difference between it. I can see the difference between here. I worked out my lowest performance for that year, I worked out my maximum performance for that year, and I worked it out, and it's basically £200 just by putting power optimizers on there. Now, the other thing the power optimizer gives you is safety. Again, if we're all holding hands, through us will be this heartbeat signal. Every 40 milliseconds, there will be this heartbeat signal going through you, all saying we're working. If I turn off the switch, if we cut the cable, or if I unplug the cable, the heartbeat signal stops and we all go down to 1 volt. So all of you are at 1 volt. So if I want to do any maintenance on my roof, if I want to clean the gutters, or I have a tile, or someone needs to get onto my roof, I simply switch my inverter off, I wait 5 minutes, the person can climb up their ladder and safely work on my roof. Now, if we didn't have SolarEdge, even if you turn their inverter off, there's no way of controlling the modules, because all of you would still be doing 40 volts and probably 300 watts each. No way of turning you off. The only way we could turn you off is by covering you up with a blanket or waiting for night time. So, the optimizer also boosts your performance, and what it does is it controls it as well, turning you off to safe DC. So 1 volt is called safe DC. The other thing that we've got is on here, we have a very short connector here. Normally we'd have 2 long ones, but we've got a very short one now, and that is the Sense Connect. And there's a temperature sensor in there that if it gets above a certain degree, which is 200 degrees, bearing in mind an arc is around 350 degrees, when it gets to 200 degrees, the heartbeat signal stops. All of you then go to 1 volt, and we reduce the risk of an arc because we cut the voltage and we reduce the current. Okay? Now, the analogy I like to use is this. If I'm driving in my car, and I'm driving along, and all of a sudden something jumps out in front of me, I don't turn around and say to myself, it's all right, I've got a bumper, I've got an airbag, and I'm wearing a seatbelt. If I hit it, I'm going to be safe. We don't use that. What we do is we put our foot on the brake, we cut the heartbeat signal, we reduce the voltage, reduce the current, so there's no risk. So before we get to the point where we've already got a problem, it's arcing, it's burning, okay, we've got it in a box, we're containing it, before we even get to that point, we stop it. That's the beauty of SolarEdge. So that's your Sense Connect. So we spoke about the generation, we spoke about the safety side of it, we spoke about the G100 all being together, all being part of it and all be under one thing. The only thing I didn't talk about was warranties. 25-year warranty you can get for this. It comes standard with 12 for a third, so literally that much of the inverter. You buy another inverter, you buy a third of the inverter, that's a warranty for 25 years. If you buy a different inverter, a traditional inverter, you've got to buy 4 of them to last you 25 years. With SolarEdge, you buy 1 and you upgrade the warranty once, okay, to 25 years. 25 year on that, 25 year on the optimizer, and also if you look around here, the smart module here, we have 25 years on the module and also on the optimizer there as well.